Let me bang.
I do let you bang. Hey,
let me bang you, man.
I let you bang. I let you bang.
Greetings, marriage and virgins.
Go for Jesus. No for Jesus, people.
Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time once again for your favorite mixed martial arts podcast. Recording out of Los Angeles, California, it's MMA Roasted with Adam Hunter.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Hey everybody, welcome to a Brett MMA Roasted Podcast. We're here with Bill Dawes. We got a great show today. I was telling Bill that we moved like an hour out of the way, but the classes, my daughter had her first dance class today. So I drove her to, and then the teacher didn't show up for a half an hour. So that's why I was like running to get back. And then I have her for school, and then she was crying because she didn't go to school. And then I'm like, you know, she had a busy day, but school, it was her first week of school and she's going to nap anyway. So I'm like, okay, we'll just go home and we'll just take a bottle but then I'm like, well, now I'm already having her skip school, but she's only 2.5 and I don't want her to think that it's okay to not go to school. You know, she's already dropped out of school in my head, you know, she's like, but literally it's her first day of school, first week. So I called the principal of the school. I said, hey, you know, my daughter's tired. I drove her. She took a dance class. She's like, you know, just take her home. School's over in 2 hours anyway. So here we are. I'm already like dealing with this.
Adam, I don't know how you can be a good dad and be a traveling comic. That must be the most stressful combination of things in the world.
Yeah, I mean, luckily that's the best thing for COVID that happened to me is being home with my kid. Like that was, I've never been closer with my daughter. And but it's hard because, you know, it's like, you know, we were paying for a nanny for a while, and then I'm like, well, I could just watch her at home, but then I won't get any writing done, or I'm going to watch my daughter during a podcast, or I'm not like scheduling shows or writing shows or pitching shows. And it's like, so then I'm not even really with her. I'm with her, but my head's in 10 other places.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's hard, man.
Have you done a set yet with your baby on the baby Bjorn?
I have not.
You've coached with it, but you haven't done a set.
Yeah, I don't want my kid to like steal focus. I'm like, I don't even I did a show last night and my friend Nikki was like standing next to the stage. Like the host was, he was, and like, I don't like looking down and seeing my friends. If I know people, you know, I don't want other comics sit in the front, you know? Yeah. So I got up, and then I'm like, I didn't want to embarrass him and be like, hey, Nikki, could you just not like stand next to the stage, like during the show? So when I got off stage, I'm like, Nikki, man, like, I love you. You know, I love you. Because he's sensitive. I'm like, but listen, you can't stand next to the stage because it's everyone thinks that they have to get off stage because you're next to them the whole time. I know you're laughing, but like but you also know my jokes, a lot of them. So then I feel like you're laughing to like make me feel better, which makes me feel even worse, you know? Yeah. So he got it. So then when he went on stage, I stood next to the stage just to fuck with him, you know? But yeah, I did a show on, what was it? I did a show with I Met a Med on, was it Tuesday night? And
was that the Venice thing? No,
it's all the way like in Temecula. But I had to go pick up a med in Venice from where I live now, which is like Woodland Hills. I drove an hour to drive 2.5 hours. And then I was up at 7 a.m. taking my kid to school. And then did a podcast that day. So it was just like, and then I get there and I tell someone else, I tell Nikki to run the Zoom show. Of course, he can't figure it out because I don't know my login info. Now I'm running a Zoom show from an actual show. So I'm sitting at like this like bar. It's like 200 people. And I'm actually fucking with the comics, showing them like a real crowd just to actually like. And then I go on and like Hendo's there, Dan Henderson. He's there with like the sheriff and a couple of Marines and his wife who's like way like super hot and young. So I'm like, Hendo, I'm happy that you brought your daughter to the show and just fuck with him. And I'm like, Hendo, are you going to come back? Depends. I made like 37 old jokes about him. And then afterwards he came up to me. He was like, dude, you made me cry. You made me cry.
Oh, that was good.
That was awesome. And I invited him there. I love that guy. He's a good dude.
He's not going to come back though, is he? For real? No way.
No, but I heard a story from Tom, Toothless Tom, that like somebody who is like top 2 or 3 in the world right now. At one point, he was number 1 in the world. He was a number 1 contender. I'm not going to say who, but they called Hendo to train with him, and Hendo lit him up. Like,
oh, really?
Like 6 months ago or like a year ago. Like, I mean, for like a round or 2, and then Hendo was like fucking sitting there like, but yeah, he just has that. He's one of those dudes that like, power is the last to go. Like he could knock out almost anybody. He could knock out anybody.
Yeah. Old man strength is real.
Real. That's why Tyson's still good, but that's also why I tell people, I'm like, look, there are certain people that they get away with doing things wrong. And when I say wrong, it's like fundamentally like hands low, chin out, and they get away with it because they're just so much faster and skilled and natural talented. Guys like Anderson Silva, Roy Jones, but then when their speed goes
slow,
they get caught because now they just have bad technique. I mean, they're still going to beat almost 90% of the people, or 99, but it's just, then you got guys like Tyson or George Foreman or Hendo that could fight, Roy Nelson almost, even though he's a bad example because he's lost a lot of his last fights, but they just have that power. They can just keep doing it. And,
I heard that I do jiu-jitsu with a black belt who's 66, and he way overpowers me.
Really?
And I've heard that this strength coming in, it's like tensile strength, increases as you get older. It's like the super, super slow twitch shit.
Wow. 66.
Yeah.
Still overpowers you. Now, do you think it's because he just knows where to keep his weight?
No, well, I think he's also a genetic freak too. He went down to Brazil as a blue belt and destroyed everybody. So he's also that guy. Yeah, but he's an orthopedic surgeon who started when he was 48. But the point is, like, he's got the power of like 1,000 mortgages behind him when he fucking, he's on the mat. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that's what like McCorkle always says, that like he talks about Tom Erickson like fucking everyone up, and he's just like this. They have these old man, like I almost feel like Dagestan fighters are born with old man strength.
Yeah,
like, they're like, because they don't look. You're never gonna see a ripped guy from Dagestan, but they just have that. I don't know if they just move rocks all day in school, or they just have that fucking, you can't move them, It's just a different kind of strength.
It's like Russians in general, like that whole area, Eastern Europe.
Dude, it's like whenever you move now, like every mover is from Russia. Like if you want to get a good moving company, they're going to be Russian. It's going to be one guy with like 7 dudes. You don't even know if they're illegal or what. You're not going to ask. And they're just going to move all your shit in 20 minutes. And they have beer bellies, but they just have that like fucking, that, a lot of them are wearing like those weight vests on them. So, like, to not fucking blow out their back or something. It's weird. It's weird, man. It's, but good for them. Meanwhile, you think you know everything about sports. You're like, man, just when I think that sometimes I feel like coming on this podcast and saying, guys, don't listen to a fucking word I say. Like, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. And last night it was proven to me when Demetrius Johnson lost.
Holy shit, yeah.
He lost in one championship. And not only did he lose, he got like knocked out in the second round. Now,
I missed this fight. Who did he fight?
Adriano Moraes.
Okay.
I think that's his name. Adrian. I probably just butchered it.
Crazy. He lost at 1.
He lost at 1. He got knocked out, and he lost the first round too. It wasn't like he just got caught. It wasn't like a Matt Serra GSP. No offense to Matt Serra, because I love Adrian.
But he also knows the truth. Yeah.
But it was like, that was one of those things where Matt Serra hit him and he ducked and came back up. Who knows? I mean, I watched that fight again last night. It wasn't just one hit. Matt kept hitting him. Matt hit him like Matt won that fight. Okay, that's a bad example. But this is not one of those like flash, like there was this guy, the Bear Jew, where he's losing every round and then just throws up a triangle with 3 seconds left and catches the guy when he just lost 10-8. He was getting beat. Yeah. And a lot of it is knees to the head, because he in the UFC, he got hurt, he got rocked, and then the guy just fucking kneed him and But he knew that going in. You can't say he lost because he didn't know the rules. I mean, he knew the rules. Like, he trained, but.
Well, look, man, it's also just because you're in the biggest market, the biggest promotion doesn't mean you're the best fighter. I hate to say it. You know what I mean? I mean, I know UFC is your papa company, but like, it's like when you go out of town sometimes and there's like a local comic and he's fucking like 10 times funnier than you ever. Sometimes I see local comic like, why is this guy so fucking funny? Holy shit.
There are that. I mean, a lot of times those local comics are doing local references and they're killing on like, they're doing like, they have all the cheat codes, you know? They're like, hey, you ever go to Fifth Street Pizza? And everyone's dying laughing because they know about Fifth Street Pizza. So that might not be the best example, but I do think that, you know, Demetrius might have overlooked this dude. But then again, I looked at this guy's record. He lost 3 times. 2 out of the 3 were split decisions. And he beat 2 of the guys he lost to. And then like when they're in like the rematch. And then he didn't rematch the other guy who beat him, the first guy. So, man, I mean, who knows? The guy trains an American top team. He's a black belt. He's a prodigy on the ground. So maybe Johnson was like training for that. But man, props to this guy. This guy's stock just rose. I mean,
absolutely.
And it's great for one championship because, and then Eddie Alvarez would have won his fight, but he got disqualified because he took the guy down and was hitting him. And it's hard. Like he landed a couple shots to the back of the head, but the guy was like turning his head in where he almost was forced to it. And they should have given him a warning, but the guy couldn't continue. I don't really consider that a loss.
And there were fists or their elbows? They're fists.
He was against the cage. He had like a double. It was a weird position. The guy was stuck, and the guy basically looked the other way, and Eddie hit him, and then the guy went down, and like. Yes, it's a loss, but I mean, no one's gonna think that other guy got the better of him that night. You know? Do
you think at UFC, if that was UFC, that would have happened? That call?
I think they use a lot of the same refs, so I don't know. But I think that they should have given him a warning. And you know, refs fuck up in the UFC all the time, so it's not like UFC refs are any better. You know, a ref is a ref. But we have this girl right now. I don't even know what to call her because I don't know if I should call her Jeslen Mishelle or if I should call her by her wrestling name. But she's smoking hot. She's undefeated as a MMA fighter. I think she's 5-0 as an amateur, maybe 6-0. She won her last fight. She's also a pro wrestler. And I think a lot of MMA guys, they go into pro wrestling and like, you know, it's sort of like cute, not cute, but they do like 1 or 2 things, you know. This chick was fucking suplexing people. I watched some of her wrestling matches doing like backflips off the top rope. I mean, legit insanity. Intergender matches where she was throwing dudes up in the air. Like, and she's also an actress and a model. Like, you talk about someone who doesn't have time for men. Now, should I call you Jeslen or should I call you your wrestling name? What should I call you?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry. My name is Jeslen Mishelle. And then I have my, like, you know, my personas depending on what I'm doing. So right now,
should I call you your persona name or do you like Jeslen better or?
Well, it depends on what we're talking about. Am I in character or not?
Well, we want to be friends with you. What do your friends call you?
Big J.
Big J. But you're also the body slamming queen on Instagram. And then how do you say your wrestling name? Because I keep fucking it up. I'm terrible with names.
Well, so it's the word Desiderata, which is an actual word in the dictionary, but it's also the name of like a pretty famous poem, which came to my life because my grandmother gave it to me when I was young and I always loved it. But I split that word up to be Desiderata. Really, it's because Facebook made me have to have 2 names when I made a profile for my wrestling character. But so everyone in pro wrestling calls me Desi.
Yeah, okay, because I was confused. I didn't want to like butcher your name, and then all of a sudden people say, "Oh, you at least get her name right," and then I gotta fucking, you know, I'm like,
white cis male bastard.
I one time was up with a girl who was a porn star, and I got like her porn name wrong, her actual name wrong. I got like every name wrong. I was like 0 for 2. Anyway, but that's a whole different.
And that's the thing about women these days is we have like 5 names depending on what we're doing. So yeah. I got a couple other aliases for sure. Now I'll call you Adam. If that's
Thank you very much. Now you're Native American, correct?
California Native American, yes.
So what tribe?
So I specify California because there's hundreds of tribes in California and people don't realize that. The tribe is Cahuilla. My bloodline is from the Cahuilla band of Agua Caliente, and we're what is considered Mission Indians. So there was a lot of Spanish. Obviously, there were indigenous people on the West Coast, and then the Spanish literally like invaded and pillaged the entire land. So we have a lot of Spanish blood in us too, which I don't admit to. But that's where all those missions along the coastline came from, was like the native labor. Basically, slavery.
Got it. Okay. And then where did you grow up?
Also in California, not anywhere near where my family or anywhere near where my family came from. In a very small mountain town in the Sierra Nevadas, I would say just south of Yosemite. Wow. I was born in the eastern Sierras near Mammoth Lakes, which a lot of people know of. Mm-hmm. Big ski resort town. And then I spent like most of my childhood growing up in an even smaller town. As a crow flies, probably only 50, 60 miles on the other side of this huge mountain range. This mountain range is so huge you get from Mexico to Canada at high elevation. But it takes a while to drive through, like through Yosemite, maybe 3 or 4 hours. And that town had only 300 people. It was paradise.
Really? Wow.
My elementary school, K through 8th, 100 kids.
Wow. So you were like the every team, like, cause you were like the most valuable player and every position. I like it. And you came out to LA to become a model.
I didn't move to LA ever. I went back. I thought I was going to play basketball in college because growing up in a mountain town, you do a lot of sports, and I did all the sports, even junior Olympic style, like so a lot of kids.
You competed against men, or were there women's sports, or you just played with the guys the whole time?
There were girls' sports, but I did have to play on the boys' basketball team in 7th grade because there wasn't enough boys, and I was the only girl that could, I guess. But nonetheless, I thought I was going to play. When I was a kid, I thought I was going to be the first woman on the NBA.
Wow.
Yeah, but some stuff transpired as I was in high school. We got a new coach my senior year, my varsity year. And it just, my life changed. And so I went full-fledged into snowboarding. So I went back to Mammoth Lakes. And then I realized that I didn't even like sports and I hated competing, but my parents kind of liked that. And that's just what we did in the mountains, just be athletic and outside. But I realized I just wanted to entertain and be entertaining. The only thing I liked about basketball was that I was entertaining people because they would see me do this cool thing and they're like, well, whatever. I liked that element of it. I didn't like the competition. I didn't care about winning, but I had to always win.
So when did you decide to become a model / actress / wrestler / fighter?
So that kind of fell into my lap. I didn't ever make that decision. I went into theater, I went to college and started snowboarding, and then there was local theater, and so I did some theatrical stuff, and then I think it was when and then I started dancing, and I don't talk about this a lot, but I think it was made me.
When we say dancing, you mean like ballet, jazz, or stripping? Okay, stripping. Okay.
I'm talking
so
under
stripper
21.
Okay.
Okay, Jeslen, let me just say, can I just butt in here? So obviously you're a freak athlete. You can snowboard, you can do all this stuff, and you're smart and all put together. Stripping, that doesn't seem like the logical conclusion of where you're going.
And it never even crossed my mind. I didn't even know what that was. But when I saw the ad that said auditions for dancers, I love dancing. I did dancing. I mean, even in 8th grade, my drama teacher told my parents we wanted to send one kid to a summer acting camp that does dancing and all this talent stuff, and we want Jeslen to go. And my dad's like, oh, she's got sports. She's got track. She's got swimming. So I'm like, what? He didn't even ask me. And I was like, oh, yeah, I have to do that instead. So when honestly, it was this ad that said dancing. And then I realized what it was. And I was like, I'll try it. And then, I don't know, just.
Well, but you get to the audition and you're like, okay, you got to be naked.
Well, I knew before that. I realized before that. And I don't know. My whole entire life, I've never really been I guess I'm shy, talking to people, but I've never been reserved. I've never had a lot of boundaries or personal limitations. And I'm like, well, people do this, so I'll just try it.
But how do you know? But how do you know how to give like a lap dance or?
The girls taught me.
Who? The girls.
The girls. By the way, this is the first time I've ever talked about this in any podcast or interview.
Well, this is the best. This is the place to do it. So how do you know? So you get there and you're like never done it before. Do the girls take you under their wing and say, "Listen, this guy's a mark. Go up to him, promise him that you're gonna hook up with him, take his money, give this guy a lap dance. If a guy gets a boner, fucking just walk away. Put your leg next to this guy's thigh. Like, how do you?"
So after I got hired, I told myself, I obviously was very naive. I was very, very young and naive. I said, I'm just going to do the stage shows and work for tips. I don't want to do the rest of that stuff. And then someone said, okay. And then when I get there, I'm like, this isn't really working out. So, I kind of had to learn, but no one called it a mark. As a matter of fact, it's cool that you say mark because I've only learned that term in pro wrestling. So
Right. Now, full nude? I mean, full nude?
Yeah, because they didn't serve alcohol because I was too young. So anyway, let's fast forward.
Okay, go on.
And
So you don't have any video proof of this career that you have now? Okay.
All right,
man, ultimately, I am so thankful for it because being able to go to do that off and on throughout the years have fulfilled my traveling dreams, have fulfilled where I'm at right now. And it's been years since I've done it, but like, I just was so thankful. I went cross country and back for 3 months in my van and was able to make enough money along the way to do it, and even drove to Alaska and back and was able to make money. It was just ideal if you could deal with it. And it can be very scary because a lot of girls get lost and a lot of girls get overwhelmed, and you have to be very stern with yourself and set your boundaries. And I think that that's challenging for people.
Mm-hmm.
So
right, now we're fast forward. So you're stripping and then. Okay, go on.
So some kids, some photographer asked if I want to do a photo shoot. I didn't mind being nude, whatever. And then someone asked me if I want to do a photo shoot, casual in the park with my feet showing. I'm like, what is that? Okay, he wants to pay me for my feet. And then I got into that whole world. And then
you can't go. What
independent filmmaker.
Well, you got into like the fetish modeling world. Is that what we're talking about?
Well, I had no idea there was a foot fetish at the time either.
Got it.
Obviously, you have to show us. You have to show us your feet right now. Come on.
Oh my God, they're so bad, Matt feet. It's not. No way. I look at them these days, and I'm like, man, these dogs used to make me money. But
there's actually dogs behind you. All right. Okay. So then, so you go there, and then you're in the fetish world, right? So
yeah, I never got too deep in it, and it was I don't know. It was just, that was a little too weird for me.
You just like dip your toe in it, as we could say.
Literally.
So then
literally. Okay. So then some local movie independent filmmaker, I don't know, found me on this Model Mayhem website, and he said he has his role. Did his role, which required, I don't know, a topless scene. The movies just came out actually anyway after years and years of editing. Nonetheless, got involved with a lot of independent films and college films and stuff, and then local TV commercials. And then
the movie called Shrinkage, because you're in a movie called Shrinkage.
Did Shrinkage? Yeah, Shrinkage was fun. I had a small role in that one. That was a little more recent. The biggest thing I could say I did was I worked with a top. This was maybe 3 years ago. I worked with a top stunt choreographer in LA because of my pro wrestling. Because at the time, we'll go back to that. But because of my pro wrestling, they cast me, and I had just started doing jiu-jitsu, so I knew some kind of like combat. But it was a James Franco movie, and they wanted me to play this boxer. And I didn't realize it was a time piece, the time era. What am I trying to say?
Period piece.
Period piece. That's what do I say? And it took place in the 18th century.
Okay.
So,
and what movie is that called?
It's called The Mad Whale. So the scene was really cool. And when I get knocked out by the chick in this underground basement fighting scene where the men gamble on us slave type women, James Franco's head appears behind me as I crumble. But the scene doesn't look like that. You just see us kind of in the foreground duking it out, and you could just see him kind of going along the crowd.
All right. So then, all right. So we're doing independent films. You're like, you know what? I'm gonna be an actress. You went from a basketball player to a stripper to a foot fetish.
Snowboarder. I competed snowboarding and taught snowboarding.
Snowboarding. Sorry about that. To actress. Now, how do we get into MMA and wrestling?
know. What a confusing thing. I think this is why I've confused fans and friends along the way. So, where am I? So, like, I did move to Long Beach at one time. I lived in Central California, and I lived in Northern California throughout all this. And then, of course, when I was snowboarding and stuff, I was back home in Mammoth Lakes. So, I just had moved around throughout these days. But
you ever compete at the X Games?
No.
No. Was that a goal? No.
I guess not, if I'm not aware of it.
All right.
The X Games for snowboarding? Go ahead.
Oh,
Okay.
Oh my gosh, did I ever compete in the X Games? I thought you said, do you know about PBX Games? No, I did not compete in the X Games.
Okay.
I just did the local competitions on the mountain.
Got it. So now here we are. Now we're acting. We're like, okay, I'm going to be acting. Okay.
So I did this really cool acting thing in Fresno, actually, and it's one of my favorite movies. It's called My San Joaquin, but the director thought it sucked, so she doesn't put it out or give it to the actors, and that was her fault that it sucked, but she tried to blame everyone else. But she's a director, so she's responsible, right? And I was like, this is enough being in this town. I'm going to go back home and figure it out. In that meantime, I had been doing performance art. I took myself to circus school and did some like aerial stuff and learned how to walk on stilts, which is probably the only thing I still do as far as circus type stuff.
Yeah.
Peg stilts. And I would do a lot of interpretive dance for the Sacramento Horror Film Festival.
Wait, hold on. Were you going to join the circus? Was that a goal?
When I was a kid, I wanted to be a clown. So I really did. You know, when you're a kid, they're like, what did you want to be when you were a kid, when you grew up? And mine was seriously a clown.
Wow.
I wanted to be a clown. So that was like when it was the traditional old style circus though, right? You know, like when it was like really gritty and crazy. And
you had to leave home to do it. You had to forswear your whole family and never speak to them again.
Right. Or they'd have to come with me. But then I realized that life doesn't work like the circus isn't like that these days as much. But I did join pro wrestling, so we'll get to that circus in a moment. But I went to the venue to look at the stage to see what space I had to work with for my interpretive performance art piece. And there was a pro wrestling show going on. And I walked in and the crowd was cheering. And I knew what pro wrestling was because I saw it on TV, but I just didn't really care for that WWE content growing up. I don't know why. Probably because my dad was really into sports and he thought it was fake and he liked boxing and stuff. So I probably just got turned away. But this was like popping. In hindsight, it probably was a shitty show with some shitty independent wrestlers. But now, you know, at the time I just felt the energy and I saw the wrestlers, they were bantering and talking shit back at the crowd. And you know how pro wrestling shows, have you been to one?
Yeah, they're amazing.
The local shows especially.
So much fun.
It's so much fun. And then they're doing stunts and they're beating each other up and not really. And I'm like, oh my God, this is performance. This is athleticism. This is showmanship. This is everything I've done and love doing, but in one square, like literal square. So I said, I'm going to do this. I called that company, the school, the next day, and they're like, just come to training and we'll see about it. I'm like, how rude. Anyway, I didn't go to the training. I was still doing performance art. I just didn't go. And some time went by. Fast forward to when I left Fresno and went back to Mammoth the last time, I said, something happened in my life. I'm not going to get into that, but like it changed my life so much that it wasn't a good thing. But it was a good thing because what it did for me, it was detrimental. I was quite depressed actually, but it made me realize I don't have a lot of time to be living life. I already tried to fill life with as much excitement as I could because that's just the way I've always been. But I need to do what I want to do. So I was like, I'm starting pro wrestling. From Mammoth, the nearest city is Reno at 3 hours away or like Lancaster at 3 hours south. So I drove to Reno every week on my days off to go to a pro wrestling school up there.
Wow.
And yeah, I stayed with a friend, so it worked out. But then later,
your wrestling is insane. I love watching you wrestle. I never watched it till like last night. I went on like, you had some great clips on YouTube. I mean, you do you fucking lift people up, suplex them, and you do backflips into the crowd. I mean, it's wild. And then I saw you like in a backyard wrestling. You were like in someone's backyard having a match. Like,
so that's kind of like silly because then they're called backyard wrestlers, and they're not really respected because they kind of give wrestling a bad name because they're doing a bunch of dangerous, crappy, sloppy stuff. And like the elite of wrestlers are just like, you either go out of that and move on, or you just stay there and never go anywhere with your wrestling.
Right.
So it's just a tough balance.
I don't want to bring up, well, you're much better than a backyard wrestler, but it was pretty cool seeing you. But then how did you end up at Syndicate in Las Vegas? And now you're here. What, you're 6-0 now?
5-0.
5-0. How did this happen?
So there's a couple steps in between. That year, I decided to take a trip to Alaska for no good reason. And then when I was up there, I found a pro wrestling school up there, and I trained there for 3 months. I met a girl who became a good friend of mine, and I stayed there for 3 months. And by the time I came back, I met a guy that was a pro wrestler. So we ended up getting engaged. We're no longer, but he's a big name now. Like, he's like a big time wrestler now.
Brock
and
Lesnar.
Just, huh?
Brock Lesnar?
Yeah. Oh,
is it the Iron Sheik?
kind of close and
wow.
Close and
John Cena. I'm going with John Cena.
It's the Big Show. Okay, so then
all right.
So then you how'd you end up at Syndicate?
So then I'm with him pro wrestling a lot and traveling. We got to travel the world, and I did like a few countries pro wrestling shows. But at one point during all that, I said, I should probably really learn some real wrestling and like actually learn how to look like I know how to fight, just so my wrestling can look better. So I said, I'm going to go to an MMA gym and like learn MMA, because I only knew that from like the UFC and on TV and Ronda Rousey at the time. And then so I went to the gym, and they said, oh, it's jiu-jitsu tonight. It's a very tiny gym. They only had like a few classes a day. And I was like, well, what exactly is jiu-jitsu? I didn't know it. And they're like, here, borrow this gi and just do the class. I was like, what's a gi? Okay. By the time we started free rolling, the little chicks that were in the class were just freaking choking my ass out left and right with my own clothing. And like, I knew what wrestling was, and I knew kind of what fighting was, but I just didn't understand the jiu-jitsu. I'd never heard of it. This was not even that long ago. This was like 2016. And I was like, these little bitches are just choking me out. I'm supposed to be big and strong because I started wrestling and doing big suplex moves. Not even realizing that those moves actually came from real fight moves, which is exaggerated. That came also later. I fell in love with jiu-jitsu at that time because I needed to know what was going on.
I love the fact that your first class, they let you roll your first class, and women were choking you out. That's crazy.
Choking my ass out.
Wow.
Usually it takes weeks to start rolling in the class, but
yeah, now that I think about it, I just remember it being really intense. But I did end up getting my moniker from that sensei. We call him Wrecking Ball, and I'm like, is that like an insult? What's that mean? Like just a sloppy like wild ball? And he's like, no, the door's open, but you just kick it down anyway. And that's like all I knew with how to fight, because like with pro wrestling, you're big and strong and you fight and you push and you force. But in jiu-jitsu, it's, go with the flow, and I'm still trying to learn that. But yeah, I still like the name Wrecking Ball, because that really is a strength of mine. It's like, I won't back down. I'll just keep. So being at that gym for 1 year, they said, do you want to really fight? And I'm like, do you want to take a fight? And I was like, no, I don't really want to get punched. I'm a pro wrestler, like Hulk Hogan style. Pretend, like, sell it, don't touch it.
And you were also like, look at this face. I don't
Yeah,
want to punch
you're
this.
hot chick, and
I never thought that once, but thanks. But it was because I'm like, you know what? For pro wrestling, maybe I should take a fight so I know what it feels like to like be in a real fight. Because like, when we have entrances with pro wrestling that are really extravagant, and then we're supposed to cut promos before a fight to not talk shit, but talk about the upcoming bout with our wrestling counterpart. And I never felt scared because it's pro wrestling, right? I was fucking scared for my first fight. I agreed to do it, and I was so scared for the first time that's what got me hooked.
well, now you're 5-0. Are you gonna go pro?
I should have already, but yes.
So you're
Yes.
gonna go pro, and
I'm
then
glad I had this last experience. So this chick was like the toughest. It was the smallest weight class I've ever fought, and like the least amount of weight since, I'm not kidding, 7th grade. But she was the toughest.
now, were you pulling your punches at all? It seemed like you were on top of her landing, but that you weren't like were you worried about your hand or something?
So like when I was on her back, you mean?
Yeah.
So the first couple were really hard, but then I got my hooks. Then she started moving, so I had to get my hooks in. So those little taps were just to distract her from squashing her. You can't flatten her. So if you watch my feet, she's on her knees, and then when I start tapping, she gets flattened, and that's what I was trying to do.
I thought maybe you got confused that you were still wrestling and that you were like selling it or something. Like,
no, I just didn't want to lose the positions. And that's what you learn is like when someone's punching you, they're giving you space to move. So I just had to make sure I wasn't going to lose my position of flattening her out.
Got it. So, I mean, you're very, very busy. Do you have time for a boyfriend or girlfriend? I don't know what you like. It seems like you're pretty open.
I'm not busy. I have 24 hours in a day and I could do whatever I want with it.
Okay. So you're looking for a man?
I've never looked in my whole life. They just kind of appear.
Listen to that. I like that.
Well, it's true.
You probably have to bat them away with your jiu-jitsu skills, right? You have to. They must be all over.
No, but they do. They do have to know how to fight, because if I can beat them up, then it won't work.
Got it. Now there was a girl, Kate Quigley, who wrote that on Instagram. She said, "Listen, any guy who's married who tries to get in my DMs, I'm going to post it." And then you wrote, "You're a snitch." So are you hooking up with married men? Like, what's going on?
Wait, I don't remember that. What
you wrote, you called her a snitch on Instagram. I don't know if you were being funny or.
What did she say though? She said that if
a married guy tries to get in her DM, she'll post it.
Yeah.
And then
that's just too much energy. I think that's all I'm saying is like, let men be men. They're going to be idiots. Their relationships are obviously going to fail. Just stay out of that drama. Like, you don't have to give it energy. Don't be a snitch. Just walk away. Ignore it.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes way more sense. I agree. Like, just ignore it. Now you're placing yourself in the whole.
Yeah. Because imagine how many dudes do that. What if like several dudes do that a day? Then you're wasting your time telling them, like, just, even
that makes sense.
That's what
I have a question. Jeslen. If you had to choose between MMA and wrestling, what would you choose if you had to pick one?
MMA right now, because there's not a lot of wrestling going on, and I think that I can listen to what D'Lo told me. I don't know if you know D'Lo from WWE.
Yeah.
He lives in Vegas. He said, do your fighting right now while you can, while your body can, because it's like obviously way more intense. He said, I could get you wrestling for the next 25 years.
Oh, wow.
Well, I mean, you're sitting down right now, but to the fans, she's ripped. And you're also like not a big girl, but you're not a tiny girl. You're like
I'm 5'10".
You're 5'10"?
5'10", 6-pack. You must walk around at like 155, right? 160.
Shit, I should be walking around at 165, but before this fight, I was 177, but 18% body fat, and then I had to get to 145 in 2 months.
Whoa!
Well, you're killing the game,
which I did.
And like, you're a very, very attractive woman. Even when you train, you're attractive. A lot of girls, they don't look that good when they're training. I've seen you in the gym. So
I see you there.
Yes, you see me there. I'm not attractive. All right. So thank you. Where can people find you and support you?
I guess just the Instagram. Like I have 4 Instagram accounts, but the one that's important is the pro wrestling one, which is Body Slamming Queen. I started weeding out my personal Instagram account and just putting everything on that. So that would include MMA, because it's just too hard to manage.
And are you on OnlyFans? Are you one of these? Are you on OnlyFans?
Never.
Oh,
never.
Good. Stay off.
Never will.
Good. Stay off OnlyFans. All right.
I have one last question, Jess. I have one last question. You said you would only date a guy if he can beat you in jiu-jitsu?
As long as I can't squash him, I would date a guy. Okay. It's like, and guys are like, oh yeah, but she's not gonna, she can't beat me or whatever. Like, but if you don't train, if you're an average man that doesn't train, I will.
So there's follow-up question. Do you want to do some jiu-jitsu together?
Sure.
Wow. All right. We got to film this. So let's see this.
Usually I charge $400 an hour, but
he's also a brown belt. He's a brown belt. So this would be good. Just so you guys know. All right. He's also an actor, a brown belt. I see this lasting not very long. Anyway, listen, thank you guys very much. I know you don't do a lot of interviews, but I am so honored, and have a great week.
Thank you. I hope it made sense. I feel like I just went through my whole life like totally rushed, and the people were like, "What the hell?"
No, we're gonna have you back on. We're having you on every week. Thank you so much. You're amazing.
Thank you.
You're great.
Take care.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
All right. So I like that girl. Right?
Yeah, she's cool as shit.
Fucking wild. Bet online is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your sports action. I mean, football might be over, but the NBA, college basketball, and the NHL are in full swing. BetOnline even covers awards. I mean, how cool is that? TV shows and reality TV, which I love to watch. They got real-time updated odds and props on almost anything you can imagine. BetOnline has you covered for all the news, the scores, and odds. It's the best way to place your bets, and it's free to sign up. So head to the website and use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. So don't sit on the sidelines anymore, huh? Don't be that guy or girl. Get in on the action. Don't forget to use that promo code CLNS50 to receive a 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. So visit our good friends and exclusive partner at betonline_AG. Take advantage of the best bonuses in the business. Sign up for a free account and use the promo code CLNS50 for your sign-up bonus. Use the hashtag BetOnline. All right, so we got a guy coming on the podcast who's a badass fighter right now. He's a good dude. He had a crazy life. You ask these people to come on the show. This guy, Demagio Smith. Okay, connecting now. And I didn't realize that. I like Googled the guy's name, and all these like FBI things come on, and it's him. So we got to ask him about this. I think he got in some trouble. I don't want to embarrass him. This isn't like a gotcha thing, but I do have to ask him about this. I'll let him explain because fucking wild. I thought I was looking up his fights, but anyway. This is,
so you saw some mug shots?
Yeah. I saw some crazy shit. All right. I don't want to assume or embarrass the guy, but we do have to get to this. And our next guest too, by the way, Sasha. It's a fucking crazy show. Demagio, can you hear me? Let me see. Ask to start video. So, by the way, but you would date that girl, right?
Yes.
Yeah, in a heartbeat, right?
Come on.
I mean, she's wild though. I feel like, I think she probably has trust issues. She obviously thinks all men are scumbags. I mean, pretty much. She thinks all men are going to cheat. Which is that's not. I mean, I guess when
you're crazy. Yeah.
I guess when you strip before, I feel like you're dealing with men that are married, have their wedding rings, whatever. They're offering you all kinds of shit. So I think you're getting a false sense of like all men, but the men that you're meeting, you're probably just like, and she stripped around the whole country. She went around the country on a stripping tour. So. Yeah.
It's also crazy. She's 5'10". The whole time I'm watching her on Zoom, I'm thinking she's like 5'4", 5'5".
No, she's like fucking big chick doing backflips and shit. I mean, she's crazy athletic. I mean, crazy. Yeah. So this dude right here, how's it going? How are you? Demagio. Hello? Can you hear me? Is everything okay? What's up, man?
There you go. What's going on?
How are you doing?
Pretty swell.
Good. So I was watching your fights, by the way. You've had crazy fights. First fight didn't go very well. Let's be honest. Didn't last. But the second fight. All right, we'll talk about the second fight because the first fight lasted 9 seconds. I think you got kind of rocked early, maybe whatever.
Yep.
Second fight though, the dude fucking Machida kicked you in the head, and I was like, oh no! You came back and beat the shit out of this dude. Crazy rear naked choke. That was pretty damn awesome. I think I was like 15 pounds heavier too.
Oh, bro, he was much heavier than that. You know how these shady shows and promotions are when it comes to people's weight.
Yeah.
Because it was pay-per-view. But the guy walked in. I mean, we were already doing weigh-ins. He walked in during weigh-ins, and I was like, my opponent never showed up, so I took the picture by myself, stepped on the scale, and I was like, when he walked in, I'm like, who the fuck is that guy fighting? Like, hey, he's gonna fuck somebody up. And then he goes up there and he gets on his scale. and he weighs in at fucking like 194 or some shit. And I was like, God damn, that's a big boy. And he's like, oh no, he's fighting you at lightweight. I said, now I know I've heard of some shady shit with these promotions and how we're doing tickets and shit. But I've never heard of I'm fighting this big Goliath motherfucker. I can see his heart beating. I don't know. I see every muscle in his body. I'm not fighting him.
Yeah.
Managers come up and they're just like, oh yeah, well, you can go up weight. Like I cut down to 55. But when I'm gonna drink water, to get up to 193. So then I told the promotion, like, fuck this. I sold 50, 80, 100 fucking tickets, and I'm like, I'm not fighting this dude. They're like, come on, man. You're gonna be co-main event, blah 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 blah. This is for you. You just lost your last fight 3 months ago. Come on, do it. And I was like, bro, I'm not fighting this dude unless I take 80% of his purse. They're like, 80? Take it or leave it. So they came back and they're like, he said, fuck no. I'm like, well, he just flew from New York or some shit. All right, tell him 60. And if it ain't 60, I'm fucking done. 60 is what I really wanted. And then they come back and they're like, yeah, he'll agree to 60. I'm like, fuck yeah. So when I got kicked in my face, it woke me up and pissed me off so bad that I was like, I'm balls to the walls. I just lost the fight by trying to, sit on the ground and shit. Like, no, I'm not doing this again. So it just, God was in my ass cheeks or something. I hit the mat and I bounced back up quicker than I've ever bounced up in my life.
So I didn't see your first fight. Because I tried to find it, but it said 9 seconds on Sherdog. What, you pulled guard? Is that what happened?
Oh, no. Let me give you a visualization real quick. Fighter, are you ready? Fighter, are you ready? Yeah. Fucking run, sprint the guy, double flying knee. I've never seen nobody defend a double flying knee in my life. My opponent last 2 weeks before, so I was going to fight a wrestler. So here I am with Jorge Masvidal shit before Jorge Masvidal, and this guy blocks one knee, blocks the second knee, throws a fucking punch right down off the cage. I got him backed up against the cage. I go straight down. He jumps on top, throws 1-2 punches while I'm defending. Referee pulls. I sit straight up, and I was like, "Oh fuck, I fucked up."
Well, because in the highlight film, it just showed you throwing the flying knee before your fight, but they cut off the part where he punches you.
So, of course, they were looking out for me,
Yeah, that was pretty cool. So then I Googled your name, right? I'm like, I gotta find more stuff. Some stuff that came up, like so. All right, let's just say what I found, because you got to tell me. All right, it says that you were arrested for billing the government, and then you went on a cruise. And then you pulled a healthcare fraud, and you were looking at 5 years and $250,000 bail. Like, what the fuck happened?
So this is what happens when you fuck with family. Right. So I was working 3 jobs and still trying to do mixed martial arts. And while I was working 2 jobs, and then my mom comes up with like, hey, you can work another job. I'm like, I'm pretty tied up, Mom, She's like, just work a 3rd job. You'll take care of good old Mom. You already take care of me. Easy way to get paid. So I'm like, okay, this, doesn't make sense, but it makes sense. So I'm like, yeah, I'll live with you. I take care of you already, and I'll get paid for that. She's like, yeah. Well, what she didn't tell me is that she's not supposed to be working on disability. And if you are, you're supposed to be reporting it.
Got it.
So she was not reporting that she was working, which started a case on her. And then they're like, how in the fuck is this guy at 2 jobs and working for you? And that was a felony. I never knew that was a felony. So here
that doesn't seem too bad.
No. That's all that it was.
Get arrested for having too many jobs? Like, what
pretty much. Pretty much.
Like, bro, that's crazy.
Let me tell you how, explain how getting locked up. That part was fucking crazy. Because here I am at Lambert Airport about to fly to Texas to go and train at, I forgot whose gym, some fighter down there. And it's, once again, just a funny fucking story. I've got all my shit. I make it all the way through. And I'm sitting down, waiting on my flight. I'm like, group 1, group 2. It's like my group's coming up. And I'm shopping in the store. Some girls like flirting with me and shit. I'm flirting back, whatever. And you just hear like a bunch of boots and a bunch of chains. So I'm like, holy shit. Look out. I'm like, oh my God. Al-Qaeda must be in this bitch or something. Like, whoo, they're about to get him. And 8 officers and 1 FBI detective come inside of this store. And the guy holds up a paper, looks at me, looks down, looks at all the officers, and he's like, "Hey, are you Demagio?" He pronounced it wrong, so I was like, "Nah, no, Demagio." And I like slid past. Don't know that fucking guy. So then I go back towards my seat, and I hear all the boots and chains again. I'm like, "Oh, what the fuck, man? Like, did I kill somebody in my sleep or something?" Like,
yeah.
What the fuck? So then he come over there and he asked me one more time. He's like, "Demagio, is this your name? Is this your face?" I was like, "Yeah, that's me." He's like, "Okay, well, we do this a nice way. We do this a hard way. We look you up." And I was like, "It's 9 of you. I fight one-on-one, bro.
Yeah.
We can do this the easy way. Like, there's no fucking fight for this." And that's all that it was. I got locked up at the airport. Get in the airport. The guy, I didn't even know they thought jails in airports. I'm so oblivious to life. And then the guy's like, "Oh, you seem like a good guy." Fucking unhandcuffs me. And I'm like, "Well, this is weird." So now I'm just walking around the airport uncuffed, and there's other guys like cuffed and behind bars, and I'm just like in here like, "Hey, I'm Demagio. How you guys doing?" And they're like, "What the fuck? Like, didn't you walk in handcuffs?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but they trust me, so." Then they take pictures with me, and I'm like, "This shit is." I don't want to get anybody in trouble. I don't know any names, but
God.
Then I leave from there, and like the real FBI people come there, and they fucking like got me in this little dinky ass 200, and the cuffs are tight as fuck. So I'm cracking jokes with these people, not even knowing like how severe this could have been. But I'm just like, "You guys want to hear a white joke?" And they're like, "No." I'm like, "Well, 2 black guys walk into a bar and they're like, we don't want to hear it." I'm like, "Okay, like, what the fuck do you want to hear?" As soon as I say that, they pull out a tape recorder like, "Well, since you asked, do you give us permission?" I'm like, "What the fuck?" And here I am, like, I'm trying to remember all these TV shows, First 48, all of this shit. Like, okay, all right, you're black. Don't talk to him. Tell him, don't say, no, I'm not saying nothing. That's what the fuck I say. I'm like, "I don't know anything." They're like, "Well, you don't know what the fuck we're talking about." I'm like, "Oh, no."
Oh my God.
So they like escort me to like a federal holdover. They ask me some questions. I like politely talk to them like, "Yeah, this is what happened, blah, blah, blah." Then I get a lawyer because I get held over at jail 24 hours or whatever, and they let me out, whatever. I get a lawyer, and then like, "Did you talk?" I'm like, "Yeah, they seem like pretty nice people." It's like, "Fuck!" I'm like, "What?" He's like, "You never talk to them." I'm like, "Bro, First 48 was all I knew. What the fuck else was all I didn't fucking." So come to find out, he was listening to the whole audio. He's like, "Okay, I've never in my life heard this before." He said, he said, "Talking is always a bad thing, but somehow you talked to the point where you didn't say anything bad." He's like, "Talking is never good, but you didn't say anything bad, and I got you. I got this case." Like, okay, that's one lawyer. So I'm dealing with one lawyer because I go through 3 different lawyers. The first lawyer is like, "No, $4,000, I'll take care of this. This is nothing, blah, blah, blah." That guy fucked my case up.
Oh.
To the point of because he's like, "No felonies. You've never been locked up before. You're 28 or 20 whatever years old." He's like, "This is going to be a cakewalk, brother. Got you." And he just went above, like, he had a head meeting with this lady named Cassie Cassandra or something. She was like the head of the FBI before Donald Trump booted her and appointed somebody else. But he shot past everybody to have a meeting with this one person. It pissed off my prosecutor. It pissed off the person after him. He pissed off everybody up that chain by skipping all of them and talking to this one person. And that's what fucked my case up. After that, I could have gotten like off on SI program or some shit like that. Everything would have been dropped. There'd been no federal charges, no nothing. This guy pissed off the wrong fucking people and then was like, "Sorry. They said no."
So you got a third lawyer. Did you have to actually do any jail time?
No.
Oh, good.
No.
Good.
Bro, when I say I would have spent every dollar to not sit in jail, I would have pissed off some cellmates because I'd be like, "I'm innocent."
Yeah,
I was just going to work.
That's crazy. I've never heard of a guy getting thrown off a plane for having too many jobs. Bill, have you ever heard of this?
No, but it sounds like when I've been on unemployment for most of my life, it seems. And sometimes I'm on unemployment and I travel to the Caribbean because I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, not work? I might as well not work in the Caribbean. But then that's the same thing. That could be like a felony charge. If you go like overseas in vacation while you get unemployment, it sounds like the same thing.
Yep. No, it's all fraud, brothers. I'm telling you right now. Do not enjoy yourself. Do not enjoy yourself with any kind of government benefits.
You're hilarious. Are you a comedian or you're like, what do you now? Now, when's your next?
You should be. You're funny. We're experts. We know.
When's your next fight? Are you fighting again?
Check this out. So I want to fight, I have not registered myself. I said this week I was going to go register myself, put myself back in the testing pool, and fight. I've been training for about a year straight. Strength conditioning, doing shit like 4 to 5 or 7 hours out of my day, straight training. And I'm beating up on people that are currently fighting, and I feel great. Training with Joaquin Buckley. We'll actually be doing a video shoot tomorrow. And it's just like, I'm not in a rush to fight. I was in a rush to fight as an amateur. I have over 30 amateur fights. I fought so many unsanctioned fights. My dumbass did not know that was not being counted for fights. And that was the dumbest thing I could have done, was having so many amateur unsanctioned fights, but it was just like building up the hype. So when I lost my pro debut, that shit like went crazy. But I do want to fight this year. I want to fight on LFA though, because LFA, I think a lot of people that know talent watch that shit, and I don't even know how to explain it, man. You put me in the gym with your favorite fighter and watch me go to work, and you'll be like, I love this kid. What belt do you in jiu-jitsu? I'm the baddest white belt around, brother. I have a thing where like I would love to like go up notches and things like that, but my whole thing about that is like, I know mentally I'd be a bitch if a blue belt fucking heel hooked me and I'm a black belt. I'd be pissed. So I train gi, but I don't want to rank up. And that's why I say like a badass white belt, because I go to gyms and they're like, what the fuck? This who the fuck is this dude? And it's like,
Got it. But like, now, but what's your background as far as like striking, Muay Thai, boxing, wrestling?
Ooh. What do you call it? Like a foot stomper, like Kamaru Usman, I guess. Fucking, but that's not a style. But well-rounded. I started off as a striker, and now I'm working more so on well-rounded. If somebody wants to stand up, we can stand up. If they want to grapple, we can grapple. So I just want to say, I guess I'm a mixed martial artist, but striking is, I guess that's where all the flashy shit is at. That's where the money is at. So I tend to stay towards that more, but I know how to defend myself very well on the ground.
Were you with Joaquin in Vegas at my show? Did you come to my show?
No. Because of all that shit we just talked about.
Yeah,
bro. I'm still dealing with that kind of shit. So I guess it's called probation or something.
You can't leave. You can't leave the state.
Oh, they took my passport, man. I gotta get my passport.
Whoa, that's fucking crazy.
Are you training with Woodley at all? What happened? What happened with you and Woodley?
I'm
not. And this shit's being recorded all live and shit.
Yeah. How about you just call it Woodley right now on the podcast?
What happened? What happened with you and Woodley?
Nothing, man. He's a great guy.
Wait, what? You guys are both from St. Louis. What, did you make fun of his rapping or something? What happened?
No, he's a great rapper too. Look at you, like, no, the fuck you ain't. I see you rubbing your head.
I think he's pretty good. I actually think he's legit. I think he just gets a lot worse rappers. People don't like Tyron because they want him in anyway. But what happened? You guys have beef? I know that Buckley got banned from the gym, and him and James Krause have a beef or something. Or are you part of that? What's this?
No, I'm neutral. I train with people that hate other fucking people. So it's kind of like almost like a snake kind of thing. But I don't spread shit between people. Like, if you don't like this person, I'm not going to fucking tell you what this person says. I don't care about that.
Good.
I just want the training, because in St. Louis, the problem is training. And it's so fucking small here that all these gyms fucking hate each other, and no one's going to really blow up because you can't even fucking cross-train anywhere. So the thing with Tyron is I started off with Jesse Finney here in town, and then I heard about Tyron's gym like coming up. So I joined Tyron's gym before Luigi and all these other guys started coming there, and we were like the best of fucking friends. I love training with Tyron. Like, I would do cardio with him and everything. But then there was just this guy that came to his gym and like fucked up his whole atmosphere. And when that happened, I just jumped ships, and we just haven't been close since. But there's no bad blood or anything like that.
Yeah. I mean, he's a really good guy. And he needs good friends. So reach out to him, man. He needs good people around him. He's got too many yes men.
Definitely got a lot of yes men around him. But I know he knows that, and his family though is what keeps him going. So it doesn't even matter who all them yes men and shit are, but his family is pretty solid. So
where can people find you and support you?
Here in St. Louis, but if there's a gym that we're talking about,
on the internet, where can people like your fucking screen name and your
not where they can track you down and challenge you to a fight?
Yeah.
Oh, Instagram.
Like, but what's the name? What's the name they can look up to find you?
The American Angry Bird.
The American Angry Bird. Listen, your story is hilarious. I mean, it's unfortunate, but hilarious the way you tell it. We're going to get you back on the podcast. Let me know when you go with the LFA. I'm going to get you on before that fight too. So, you know, and let me know if you want me to reach out to Mr. Soares about you. So.
Fuck yeah. Do that. I'll go get tested and I can fight next week.
All right. Okay, cool. No problem. Well, thank you very much, man.
I appreciate it.
Take care, brother.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, so we have a guy, Sasha Palatnikov. He's the first fighter in the UFC that was born in Hong Kong. He's also sideways right now. Will you turn your phone a little bit? So there we go. Perfect. Now when you think of Hong Kong, you think of Sasha Palatnikov. So he won his first. He won his first UFC debut. It was a fucking war. It was a war. Oh my God. He was hurt in the first, came back, won in the third. It was a fucking amazing fight. He's got a fight coming up this Saturday, right, Sasha?
Yes, sir.
Yes, he's fighting Impa. I can't even pronounce the guy's last name. The guy that Joaquin Buckley did that crazy kick and knocked out. That's the guy he's fighting. The guy was undefeated before that fight, though. So this dude's how are you, Sasha? What's going on?
I'm doing good, man. You know, today is a bit of a slower day, which was needed, focusing on the last remaining pounds for the weight cut and just taking it easy, hanging out.
Now, you live in Vegas, though, right?
Correct. Yeah, I moved here at the end of 2019, and this is my home away from home.
Now, you have a crazy story. That you were born in Hong Kong.
Correct. How
did that happen?
I mean, it wasn't a choice of mine, let's put it that way. My father is still currently a high diver. He teaches, but he was a former world champion. He was traveling the world performing in different shows. If you guys, maybe when you were younger, remember Great Adventure and Six Flags, they would do high diving shows.
Yeah.
There's a good chance that you may have even seen my dad. He immigrated to the U.S. At 18 years old. Left the Soviet Union based on, you know, he wanted to represent the Soviet Union in the Olympics and never got that opportunity because of politics, and came to the U.S. The U.S. gave him citizenship, and he represented the U.S. in high diving and cliff diving.
Wow.
And then, you know, he came to this wonderful country without any English, with no money. You know, the immigrant mentality. He worked hard. He supported, you know, his family. And was able to travel the world because of the skills that he had. And he was offered a contract in Hong Kong in the 80s with my mom, and they never left.
What was the contract? What was the contract? Was it like for a show or?
Correct. Yes. Still there's an amusement park in Hong Kong called Ocean Park. And that's where he got the contract. I was conceived in Australia. That's where they were living prior. And, then they jumped ship over to Hong Kong, and then out I came. And
now, did you go to a special school for people that speak English, or do you speak Chinese?
In Hong Kong, so like, you know, Hong Kong's a former British colony, so it's a very, very Western influenced city. You know, everyone speaks English. My Cantonese is like pretty average. I wouldn't say it's that good or you know, fluent, but I can understand it quite well, and I can say a few things here and there to get by, get home, you know, order food, that kind of stuff. But I went to a private school, an English school, and you know, it's a very popular option for the expat community in Hong Kong to go to the, you know, British schools. They also have American schools as well. I used to have a bit of a British accent back in the day, but
yeah,
you know, it's just one of those things. It's a very international cultural melting pot in Hong Kong. And
you must fuck with people knowing Cantonese. Do you ever go in a group of Chinese people and just start saying shit like, what the fuck?
No, you know, that's funny. I've like been in elevators, and like people will maybe say some things about me and they don't think I know. And then I can start saying like, oh, really? You know, like,
that's
and then they look at me.
I did comedy in Beijing and Shanghai and Wuhan. I did comedy in Wuhan, I swear. And they don't call
now
it.
We know how it started.
Yeah, pretty much. I bombed so bad, someone ate a bat. And then, no, it was the thing is they don't call it stand-up comedy. They call it American talk show, because you're American and you're talking and it's a show, right? And stand-up comedy is not even like legal, but they got all the cops got called on one of the shows. They're like, well, are they singing? They're like, no. Like, is it a play? Like, no. Like, the guy's just talking. People are laughing. Like, well, we don't even know what to file that under, you know? When I was in Wuhan, they didn't understand. I'm like, look, I don't need a smoke machine. Like, they're like, no, you have to get a smoke machine. I'm like, no, listen, I'm a comic. They're like, no, all performers have smoke machines. So they announced me and fucking smoke everywhere. Like, I actually put it on Instagram. You can't, like, 3 minutes of people, and people barely speak English. There's a couple translators. Most people like are sitting next to people, and then they're just dying laughing because that was like, it's like a slapstick show. And I'm like, but I don't mean to disrespect China at all, Sasha, but the pollution there, right? So I was like throwing away a cup of coffee, right? I had a Starbucks, and then somebody said, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm throwing away the coffee." They're like, no. They want you to leave the coffee on the ground because it creates more jobs for people to clean it up. So someone's job is to clean up the coffee. And I'm looking in this fucking coffee bottle everywhere. I'm like, all right, you know, like, this is like, we're going to be in some trouble, but I don't know if it's like that. So
no, Hong Kong is very different in that. It's just a different place. You know, it has its own government, its own currency, its own stock exchange, you know, obviously with things how they are now, you know, things are changing, but yeah, the way people that are, you know, Hong Kong people are raised and the mentality there is very Western. It's very open. That's why the Western world uses Hong Kong to connect, you know, to Asia and you know, the influence of the West is big in Hong Kong. You know, I'm sure when you were in mainland China, you would see the signs. It would be very rare, and maybe in Wuhan to see English signage anywhere. Yeah. But if you come to Hong Kong, you'll see English, Chinese. Sometimes you'll even see, you know, Mandarin on top of that as well. So it's, like I said, it's very multicultural, and you know, that's one of the.
I got thrown out of a restaurant for tipping though. I gave
really?
They're like, you can't tip. I gave the guy a tip, and he was insulted. He gave it back, and I'm like, no, have it. He goes, out. I'm like, out. I'm giving you fucking. He goes like that's like a no.
No, yeah.
I just can't wait till, like, they say the first Hong Kong champion, and then you show up. There's a look of confusion on people's faces is gonna be fucking priceless. They're gonna be like, yeah.
Even now, I mean, walking out and people seeing like stuff that the UFC posts because they mention Hong Kong and they're like, what? Like, he has a Russian name, he speaks like an American. Like, what the hell's going on here? They're
it's
like,
great.
people are like, what? Like, they hit like what on your character in the video game? They just pick random character and they just make me, you know. So
oh, you're definitely like now. When women are like, oh, I like Asian dudes, and then you show up, is that like? Is it like that would be amazing. I love it. Now your first fight, your last fight, John Wood told you because you were in a brawl, and John Wood was like, "You're too technical for this." Do you like brawling, or did that raise the thing of like, hey, you know, I got to get back to what am I doing?
Well, you know, like obviously with the whole whirlwind of the debut and coming in, like. The beginning of that fight, if you remember, you know, he caught my kick and I rolled out, and then he landed a barrage of stuff on the ground and then got back and actually dropped me. And in my mind, everyone's like, oh, he was hurt. I mean, the you know, Joe Rogan really hyped me up and made it seem like the fight was about to be over, but I was never really hurt. I just had lost my balance a little bit. He hit me in the back of the head like 32 times, if you remember. Yeah. And so when I actually got up, I was like, fuck, I'm losing right now. That's all I could think was I'm losing. So I was like, I got to fucking put it on him. So I kind of was like, and I felt his power and was like, okay, well, I'm not worried right now. So that's when I kind of got into that. All right, I got a mano-a-mano and just brawl with this dude. And then at the end of the round, John's like, dude, like, what are you doing? Like, get back to what you do best at, you know, don't get hit and just piece him up. And then I kind of started to, you know, settle in a bit more in second round, third round. I started to, you know, open up and play kind of the game that I usually play.
Your spinning elbows and your spinning back fingers are like jabs. Like you throw those so fucking fast that you're like, some people, like, they take their time and you're just like, it's a fucking jab for you. It's insane how quick you are. Like, holy shit.
I appreciate that. That's something that I've worked on so long in my life, and being fast and being quick and not being able to be hit. And, you know, 2 weeks notice on COVID, it wasn't like the perfect scenario in terms of what I could bring. And
yeah, you had COVID.
Yeah, I had COVID.
Yeah, and then you won the fight. It was crazy. I mean, that was and now you come here and you're a champion over in Korea. Because I watched you win that fight in Korea. Then you come here and you're broke and you're driving for Uber and you're delivering Postmates.
Not Postmates. I was doing Grubhub, Uber Eats, and DoorDash.
Now, a lot of people, like if I was like all of a sudden, like I did the Tonight Show and the next thing I know, I'm driving for Uber, right? Part of me would be like, what the fuck happened? How did it, like, is that going through your head at all?
It was more like, I know it sounds worse than it was, but so I'd come out here, I'd moved out here at the end of 2019, and I'd actually come out here to start a business. I was trying to get in, do a distribution company. I had people that wanted to have American goods shipped to Asia. So I had a nice little business set up that I was planning on having, and then also being able to train full time. Plus I'd been working in Hong Kong as a personal trainer and an MMA coach. So I put some money away just to make sure that I could pursue this. Coming to Vegas was the end goal was to come to and eventually maybe get into the UFC. I couldn't predict it, but at the same time, my goal was to come to Vegas. It was a dream of mine to live here. And then the pandemic hit, and I just had knee surgery. I was with my fiance, and I was like, shit, I'm not just going to sit here and do nothing. I was like, the roads are empty. I was like, people need food. Like, let's make some extra income. So I just kind of embraced that. I wasn't training. I couldn't train. I was recovering. So I was like, let's just sit my ass in a car. I can hobble my way over to somebody's little apartment.
Your fiance is driving you crazy. You need to get out of the house. Come on. Let's call it like it is, dude. Like
no, absolutely not. She'd be sitting in the passenger seat with me. We'd be fighting in the car, so it'd be fine.
Good.
But no, she was supporting me the whole way, and just it was a tough period for sure, because obviously I had no idea where I was going with my career. Like you said, I just won a title the year before. And they were also like, hey, we wanted to bring you back to defend the title. They wanted to line me up against the number one middleweight in the country. I was like, let's do it, because I thought beating that guy would be my ticket to the UFC. And then of course the pandemic hit, and travel was a pain, and I didn't know what really to expect. But John Wood was always kind of there for me. He actually ended up giving me a job when things opened up here at Syndicate. I was teaching the kids classes, and I was much prefer to teach the kids than drive around in Uber and then delivering food. So then obviously things started to open up a little bit more, and I got that opportunity to go to Dubai and fight again. I made a debut in Dubai, and I took that fight with a torn meniscus, and my hip was ruptured. But I needed the cash, and it was a really good offer on 5 days. I wasn't even in camp. Took the fight, and I learned in hindsight, like I can't, I believe I'm a tough kid, but I can't just get off the couch and fight elite fighters without putting in the work. So I learned that the hard way, but thankfully UAE Warriors gave me another shot, went out there and dusted my opponent. And that's when I ran into my now current manager, Daniel Rubenstein.
Love that.
And he's the man. I love Danny. And he gave me, this opportunity. It was crazy because, I won that fight. I was like, yes, 2020, we're on the roll. And I was talking to a couple different managers. But I just, I love Danny, and I just connect well with him. So
a nice Jewish guy to manage you.
There you go. He's going to take care of you.
Yeah, of course.
And then I was supposed to corner, because I was thinking, all right, well, I was training with Sean Strickland. He'd asked me if I wanted to corner him, and I was
psychotic. That guy's insane. I love that guy, but holy shit, that guy's like. I heard he just goes out for the knockout in sparring. Like he's like he's like Hector Lombard 2.0. Yeah.
Crazy. Every day's a fight. But he's a good man. He helped me so much, and he wanted me to corner him. So that's when I first found out. I was like, yes, I'm going to get that opportunity to be behind the scenes in the UFC, kind of take that all in. And then they told me I had COVID. So I was like, shit, that sucked. And so I went into a 10-day quarantine, doing absolutely nothing, sitting at home. And then I got out of the quarantine, went to go teach a kids class. And that's when I got the text message on I believe it was the 3rd of November. And they were like, UFC 255, 21st of November. You want it? And I'm like, let's go. I didn't even know who the opponent was. I just said, let's take it.
This is one of the best fighters in the world. He's going to win his fight on Saturday, and he's going to be the champion of the whole world right here. Sasha. His name is, say hi, Sasha. He's not impressed. Well, listen, my wife just dropped my kid off because I guess babysitting's done. But listen, Sasha, it is an honor. I can't wait. You're fighting ESPN, right?
Yeah, I think it's ESPN Plus on Saturday.
ESPN Plus Saturday. You're an underdog, but you're gonna win. You're winning this fight.
I'm putting money on you, Sasha. I'm putting money on you. Okay, just so you know.
The other guy's got a lot of muscles. Don't be intimidated by the guy's muscles. He's pretty jacked.
He's jacked, but that doesn't win you fights. Trust me, we ain't bodybuilding.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not bodybuilding. Well, thank you so much, man. Good luck on Saturday.
Appreciate it, dog.
Take care, brother.
Fuck, man.
Yes. Fucking love that guy.
Everyone in this episode has been great.
Yeah. That guy's story is crazy, right?
Crazy.
Well, Bill, what do you got coming up? And sorry that you haven't talked most of this episode.
No, it's great, man. These people, these are great guests. All of them were fucking awesome.
Do you enjoy talking? Do I feel like? Do you want to talk more?
No, I think it's perfect. It's perfect because I like listening, and I the Sasha thing. I was just so curious about that Hong Kong, China thing and how he felt about it. Yeah, but he obviously didn't want to talk about it. But like, so also these you get great guests, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The one guy that was crazy too. He got fucking. I mean, I understand fraud's a big deal, but you don't have to yank people off airplanes.
And he's still dealing with it now?
And he can't leave. I mean, for having too many jobs. Like, yeah. I mean.
Yeah. He's basically taking care of his mom, which is he's doing, but then he went on vacation while he was taking care of his mom. And then
That's crazy. I mean, to me, that's nuts. He's got to go through fucking 3 lawyers and blow all his money.
I have a feeling if a white person was doing it, they wouldn't have to go through so much problems. You know what I mean? I hate to say it.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's bullshit. That is some bullshit right there. Well, thank you, Bill. Have a great weekend. And where can people find you?
Oh, well, on Instagram at Bill Dawes. And if it was in Austin, I'll be at the Vulcan Gas Company on Tuesday coming up.
Yes.
And then I'll be at Supernova.
Where's that? Where's the Vulcan Gas Company?
It's in Austin. And then next week I'll be in Haha and I'll be at Supernova in Hollywood.
Love it. Well, thank you so much, guys. Take care. Have a great week.
Bye.